Hello, everybody. I'm Germ, and this is Mentally Diseased, where I mostly complain about Jehovah's Witnesses. And today I'm really excited to talk about a book for a change because we have a new XJW book coming out, one that I'm pretty optimistic will be read by a lot of people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses, and we all like that, right? The book is Leaving the Witness by Amber Scora. It's set to be released on June 4th, 2019 for all you future watchers out there. And I am so excited about this book, you guys. I can't even describe it. I'm actually really disappointed that I don't have a physical copy to wave around while I talk about it, because I really want to do that. That's what booktubers do. But I only have a digital copy, so I guess that idea's out. Maybe I can wave my Kindle around or something. I don't know. Let's talk about the book. Okay, before we get into it, the book is a memoir. I don't think that people are super touchy about memoir spoilers. I'm not going to go too deep into the plot details, but, I am going to talk about the plot. So if you're super sensitive, maybe come back to this after you read the book. The recommendation is yes, thumbs up. Go buy it. Leaving the Witness is Amber's story about her time as an undercover missionary for Jehovah's Witnesses in China. Now, if you are unaware, Jehovah's Witnesses are super banned in China, and anybody caught doing what she was doing is pretty much guaranteed to be deported or worse. Of course, the law has never stopped these people from carrying on doing what they want to do anyway, so there she was. The author explains part of the reasoning for them ignoring the law. She says, most witnesses were certain that the only reason Armageddon hadn't come yet was because the entire earth had not yet been preached to. And China was one of the last frontiers. Right, so if you're new around here, Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of a doomsday cult, and part of the reason they go knocking on your doors is because they want Armageddon to get here faster. I mean, that's not the whole reason they're doing it. They've got other reasons, but that's one of the reasons. One of their prophecies is that Armageddon will only come after everybody on the planet has been preached to. So as an ex-Jehovah's Witness, the undercover preaching aspect is one of the most interesting parts, at least for me, because even though witnesses are pretty well known for ignoring the law and just preaching no matter what the law tells them to do, most of us have no idea how they actually do it. Not even lifelong members. You don't know unless you are actually there. The organization feeds you a lot of video of witnesses hiding in basements, of huddling up in bunkers. There's a lot of first-hand accounts of people that survived World War II, but that's really all you got. Nobody knows how it actually works, what the day-to-day life is, how they meet up, where they get their literature, how they go about proselytizing. Even though, you're not allowed to knock on doors, how do you do it? Nobody knows. And it's a bit of a security issue, right? Like, if everyone knew how they got away with it, they would never get away with it. So I was really excited to get into this and see how it really works. So in Amber's case, she shows up really well prepared, she learns the language, all that good stuff, but she has no idea what she's going to do until she actually steps foot in China. And I gotta say, the way it actually works out is nothing like I imagined it. It's nothing like the videos they portray on the screens. There's no huddling in basements. There's nothing like that. I won't go into too many details because I think you should read the book, but let's just say it's a little bit sloppy. Being a witness is all about routine and structure and mandated busyness. And Amber went from the typical witness world like that into one that she described as, well, honestly, the way she described it really says it all. She said, in one of the most restrictive countries in the world, everything felt wide open. It was the first time my religion had granted me some space. We had Watchtower sanctioned freedom. Yeah, let that sink in. In one of the most restrictive countries in the world, she suddenly felt free. I mean, that says a lot about what the day-to-day Jehovah's Witness life is like, and it says even more about how organized and how well done their underband preaching work really goes. So as she's settling in, Shanghai really comes to life in her writing as she describes the culture shock she experienced while she's trying to preach as an undercover outsider while her whole routine has been completely turned over. And even though she came in really well prepared, there were a lot of things she ran into that she just wasn't expecting. She says that she has to empty out her brain of every idea she just took for granted as normal universally. For instance, there's a bit in there that talks about the way Westerners traditionally greet one another. You know, hi, how's it going? How you doing? In China, that's nonsense. None of them do that, and they don't really understand why Westerners do it. Instead, they greet one another with an observation, and sometimes those observations are bordering on what we would consider rude over here. Like, hi, you're looking fat today. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's just a drastic difference just in the way people greet one another. Because in order to preach, she has to set aside a lot of Western assumptions and biases that she never realized she had. She has to confront that those things are assumptions and biases in the first place. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses' traditional preaching methods just don't work in an environment like that. One of their primary tactics is to challenge commonly held Christian beliefs. For instance, did you know that Jesus didn't die on a cross, he died on a stake? Or did you know that the Trinity is fake as hell? And by fake as hell, I mean hell is also fake. I'm not actually cursing because I'm not allowed to curse. They just have a completely different belief system, and in order to challenge that, she had to first understand what they believed and why they believed it. And somewhere along the way, it starts to click that this religion she came over to spread is one of those Western assumptions that she might have to leave behind. The assumption that I'm right, you're wrong, and you've been doomed all this time to die in Armageddon simply because you were born in the wrong part of the planet, but not to worry, I'm here to save you. It completely dismisses the culmination of history and culture that this society has built up over thousands of years. Things begin to unravel the more she realizes how little about the world she actually knows, and she begins to wonder about how absurd she is sounding to these people she's trying to preach to. I love the part where she said, absurdity becomes truth when enough people agree to it, and to not do so then becomes what is irrational. And so we force our belief on others. And have I mentioned how quotable this book is? I mean, I was really tempted to just make a video of me reading quotes I really liked in this book, but I refrained for now. Maybe I'll flood Twitter with them at some point. And the religion stuff is really only the tip of the iceberg. She was not only a pioneer for Jehovah's Witnesses, she was also a pioneer for the podcast scene. She created and hosted the podcast Ask Amber, the insider's guide to everything China. And if I remember correctly, this was one of iTunes' top podcasts in the year 2008. Accomplished young lady. So to recap, you've got a behind-the-scenes look at the workings of a cult. You have a super spy undercover missionary. You have the creation of a super popular podcast. There's also forbidden love. There's tragedy. I mean, what more could you want out of a book, really? And despite how unusual her experience is and how accomplished she is, the writing is very relatable. It's funny sometimes, it's sad sometimes, but most of all, you just feel like you could be your friend. Like, you feel like you could meet up with her at a coffee shop and sit there and chat with her and let her talk you into believing the end of the world is coming soon. That said, I also want to talk about what this book is not, because I don't want you to go into it with the wrong expectations. This book is not Crisis of Conscience. It's not The Reluctant Apostate. It's not particularly positive about Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's not really an expose either. And that's fine, because there are books that already exist if that's something that you're looking for. If you want to learn more about Jehovah's Witnesses, if you want to learn more about how it works at the upper levels, up the governing body levels, there's Crisis of Conscience, Reluctant Apostate. Go check out those. But this is the powerful story of a young woman who could only find freedom in losing her religion, and how eventually she must also learn to come to terms with personal tragedy without the false hope of religion to guide her. If you liked Educated by Tara Westover, you are going to love Leaving the Witness. Highly recommend. Go buy it now. It's also worth noting that the author herself narrates the audiobook, which is always a welcome bonus. You can get a free copy of Leaving the Witness or any other great audiobook by signing up for a trial with Audible at audibletrial.com/mentallydiseased. They have a huge library of great audiobooks. Members get one every month, and if you cancel your membership, you get to keep the books, even the free one. You're welcome. I'm also super excited to tell you all that I will be sitting down with Amber Scora and Lloyd Evans next week to chat about writing memoirs. What's the process like? What goes into it? Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that video. It's going to be a good one, and I look forward to hearing what you all think of Leaving the Witness when it releases on June 4th. Happy reading, everybody.